You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan and Kaan Bayazit.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Orada Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol. Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 67 of Beşiktaş International's The Black Eagles podcast. I am your host, Sinan, live from New York City, as always. And today, we've got something very nice, something very special. Of course, the usual co-host who's up here with me, who goes by the name of Kaan Bayazit, has not been around for a while, but he's back. And on top of that, we've got our kind of backup, our substitute teacher, Evran, who's also here. So we're going, 3 is the magic number, right? So, guys, say something. How you doing?
Well, let me open up with this very special song for you, Sinan. Reunited and it feels so good. Reunited cause we understood, you know? Huh?
That's good. That's good stuff.
No, I heard you guys doing this pretty well last couple times. Everyone's subbing in for me, so I thought it would be fun if the three of us could be on. And I think having a little bit of a triple threat. I'm not going to call it a three-way because that's just nasty.
That's not good. The three-headed dragon.
Could be fun. Quaresma isn't playing, so everyone should be a great analyst today.
Yeah, fantastic. Although, let's hope he's not too hard on Lens, because that's usually how he compensates.
That is definitely true. I've noticed that recurring pattern.
Well, yeah. I mean, on that note, Evran, how about you? How are you doing, man?
I'm just Kaan insisted that I be here, so I'm excited to argue with Kaan for the next 6 hours.
Oh, great! Yeah, that'll be fun to edit. That's great. Yeah,
I did hear him lay down that challenge last time, so I thought to myself, I have to take him up on that.
Do it. Game of Thrones has started, guys.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
So this is gonna be fun. So yeah, I guess let's just kick right into proceedings. Of course, this week we had a pivotal match, which you wouldn't have assumed maybe 3 weeks ago. But Beşiktaş was on the road against Sivasspor. And I'll go right into lineups, and then quickly I'll seek some commentary. I wonder if there are any surprises here. But so Karius was starting in the goal. Isimat Mirin has, I guess, fully been reestablished into the lineup. He was starting on the back line alongside Domingos Vida. Gökhan Gönül was on the right side of the defense with Gary Medel on the left. Atiba Hutchinson and Dorukhan Tokus were both in the back of the midfield, with Shinji Kagawa starting in the number 10 slot and Adem Ljajic on the left side, with Jermaine Lens on the right, and Burak Yilmaz starting up front. Guys, anything to say about that? I'll start with you, Kaan, since you're the senior co-host.
Well, it's an interesting variation of the lineup that's been working pretty well in recent weeks. Of course, no Janner, no Adriano here today, so a little bit of improvisation.
And why not? Why were they not available? I know Adriano's still injured, right?
Adriano's still injured, and I think Janner's injured as well. I think because I don't think he picked up a suspension, so he must not be fit. But Medel had already been covering on that left wing in the last couple of weeks, where we'd be playing, especially in possession, with a more of a 3-man back line, where Medel would go out left, and Janner would be pushing up higher on the pitch, and that was working fine. So I think. Chanel probably thought to himself, I'm gonna put Medel on there full time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a logical decision on his part, I think, and he put the best players at his disposal on the pitch with Kagawa in midfield and Laic on the left more, but yeah, didn't necessarily work out that well.
Yeah, and in highlighting what you've just said, I think there's going to be two talking points today that we're probably going to have that will be recurring. One, of course, is Medel on the left side of the defense, and the other being the Kagawa and Ljajic pairing, which I think most Beşiktaş fans have been wanting, but at the same time maybe underwhelmed by. But again, we'll leave that for analysis. Evran, do you have anything else to say about that lineup that Kaan or I haven't said?
I don't think anyone was like shocked. There was, nothing really surprising. There was no left backs. I think the only thing that could have happened was maybe Ridvan or Necip played, but clearly Chanel doesn't trust Ridvan, the only true left back left, so he's going to always put in a deputy of either Necip or Medo. So nothing really much to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no surprise really that Chanel doesn't really. I mean, I don't think you can really blame him necessarily. We haven't really seen much of Ridvan, so he's going to opt for experience, and Medel's been in decent form lately, so it's a logical decision.
And let's tinge this with a little bit of criticism insofar as if any coach would ever go for a young guy and give him this kind of an opportunity, it probably wouldn't be Chanel Grenache, given his track record, honestly. But yeah, with that said, I think we've pretty much covered the lineup. Let's jump into this match. So right from the get-go, kind of a back and forth match, a little bit sluggish. Beşiktaş looked, I think I remember someone from our group chat calling them hungover. And I think they might have been speaking about Burak Yilmaz specifically, but I actually think you could apply that to about 7 out of 11 of the guys on the team, right from the get-go. But there was very little activity, honestly, on either end. A few squandered chances maybe, but not a whole lot of connection up front. And then in the 31st minute, of course, on a set piece, Domagoj Vida would score on a corner kick, in fact. And Evran, I'll hand it over to you for color commentary, as we do.
So not the first time I've said this, but it was an outswinging corner by Adem Ljajic, and it was flicked on by Tiba at the near post. And this is probably the third time this game that happened. Easymats was on the back post after the flick on. It looked like the ball was sailing out of bounds, but he somehow backheeled it and bounced off the ground into the crossbar, bounced back down. It was a bunch of mayhem in the box. Gekhan tries to tap it and it's cleared off the line. It falls to Vida, and he just has a casual finish. And a bit emphatic. He didn't just pass it, to lift it up and over the goalie, but it was only from a couple yards out, so
yeah,
can't miss from there.
Slammed it in nicely. And I did not say this pre that goal, but yeah, there was the only other real opportunity might have come to Isimat Midin again on another corner kick. I mean, not much of a chance, and he wasn't very good with his head, but again, yeah, and you said that Midin was a force up front, I guess you could say, on those set pieces, or something. I don't know if you call him a force.
What's he sniggering about? That was a proper pronunciation from Sinan.
Thank you, Kaan. Yeah, this is a worldly podcast, Evran.
Exactly.
We cater to a very specific.
I just like the double take. That's what I like.
Yeah. The correction. I'm giving both sides of this, the layman and the Frenchman. If only Avrat were here to. Anyway. So yeah, carrying on, in the 33rd minute, Domagoj Vida would get himself a yellow card. I don't have much to say about that. In the 40th minute, Gary Medel would get himself a yellow card, and that one was a little bit more awkward. Also, to get a yellow card on that interaction was Paul Pap, a Romanian player. I like that name.
Isn't that a dictator, by the way, Paul Pap? That was a dictator, I think.
Oh, yeah, Pol Pot.
Yeah.
Pol Pot.
Cambodia.
Sure that was
Cambodia,
a dictator
yes.
in Africa somewhere.
No, Cambodia. That was Cambodia.
Yeah.
Pol Pot.
Okay, Cambodia.
But yeah, so interesting. I hand this one to Kaan because I think you'll have an opinion about this interaction as well. I thought this was iffy, particularly the yellow to Medel.
Yeah. I thought first too, but then I didn't realize it was Medel actually reacting, and I thought it was one of the teammates that wasn't really sure who it was, who kind of shoved Paul Pap after the fall, so to speak, on Medel. And Medel was initially penalized for a fall on I want to say Emre, but I'm not sure
Douglas.
exactly. Oh, Douglas, right?
Yeah, it was
But then afterwards, Pap kind of torpedoed him, and that was definitely a yellow card.
Yeah. Maybe a red, but probably not. Probably yellow.
Yeah, probably not. I think it wasn't enough for a red, definitely. But
There's a ref out there in the world who'd probably have given a red, just because it was such a reactionary thing, like Medel errantly kind of clocked Douglas in the face, but it was very accidental. And Paul Pap clearly came in like kicking at Medel with purely the intention of like revenge, So whatever, but
yeah, maybe
I just didn't
I
like
don't know. My initial inclination was also like, oh, what's he doing? But I guess watching it back, I think they're kind of both swinging at the ball a little bit, and yeah, he was definitely coming in aggressively a little bit because of the foul a couple seconds earlier. But I mean, after that push, watching it back, I think a yellow card is pretty normal. But my initial thoughts were, why on earth is he giving Medel a yellow?
Yeah.
But I didn't properly see the fact that it was actually Medel giving him the push. I thought it was one of his teammates coming to his defense, and that Medel was laying on the ground.
Yeah, I actually we have
twisting
the same
him.
Misunderstanding of the play, actually. Yeah. But so in the 45th minute, then just 5 minutes later, Fousseni Diabate struck, equalizing for Sivasspor. Give us the color commentary, Evran.
So it was a Beşiktaş corner.
I'm watching you.
Yeah, me too. I got my eye on you, Evran.
I know what he's gonna do.
I do
know how he's gonna.
It went out. I don't remember who, but someone tried to redirect into the box. Dodokan tried to flick it, but he missed it. Sivas gets the ball at the top of the box, pokes it out, and a long ball out to Diabate. He gets there before Lens, and it's a foot race from the half line. Pushes the ball forward, and then Medel comes over to try to cut him off. Probably should not have, but in doing that, coming across, he also kind of cut off Lens trying to catch up to Diabate. So Lens stopped running, and Medel was nowhere near fast enough to keep up with Diabate. So then he just went by the two of them, and he was one-on-one with Karius. Karius came out maybe a little bit late, but I don't think he expected Diabate to just kind of waltz on through the two of the two defenders. And then it deflected off Karius' leg and just kind of squirmed over the line.
I think Medel should have just taken the inside and just kept to keep the angle tighter. He should have not tried to bite there.
You got to play your
he
position.
Should have just left it to Lens.
He played the ball.
Played
the ball instead of the position.
Yeah. He should have covered the space where Diabate ended up going into, and then the angle would have been much tighter. I think Diabate would have still gotten off the shot, but the pressure from both Lens from behind, Medel from the side, and then Karius closing down the angle would have been more difficult. I think this is largely when you look at the defending here, Medel's the one to quote unquote blame. Of course, there's lots of things going wrong beforehand with the pass coming in and all that kind of stuff. But I think Medel here is the major mess up. Although I do agree, I didn't think Karius looked all that natural here. I think he went down a little bit late, or was expecting the shot to come in a little bit later. Lens, was cut off, couldn't really do much anymore. I didn't really have the feeling he was going to catch up to Diabate though. So I don't know.
It might, and I'd have to see the replay. That's why we always get Evran on the color commentary, but it might have been down because Diabate did well to his credit, and I think maybe he did something Karius didn't expect, but for sure he came down awkwardly.
I think he shot quicker than I don't know the reaction that Karius had.
Yeah,
and he kind of put it in front of his left foot properly, so it's not like the shot was unexpected, but Karius just went down a little, like a fraction of a second later, because he did get a touch to it with his right foot, but just not enough to keep it out.
And maybe he expected something from his defense, or he was anticipating some sort of. We can't really analyze that too much, but it was weird.
Wait, You could see in the replay though that he was coming out, but he had to try and close down the angle further, and I was a little bit on that. Like his initial inclination was, I'm gonna come out kind of more in the space where Medel should have been. And then he had to step left a little bit. I think
he was like compensating weirdly.
Cost him that fraction of a second. If Medel had have covered that area, he would have stood more of a chance, but of course you never know.
Yeah, I mean it's all speculation. But anyway, that was it. In the 45th minute, there was very little extra time, and it would go into the half, drawn at one apiece. In the 46th minute, or I guess you could say this was a halftime sub. I don't know why they would do that, but Necip came in and Gary Medel came out. Obviously, a harsh critique of that goal, but indeed, I mean I think we all agree that was probably very likely his fault. A bit of action from there. Certainly, the game was more spirited, but still kind of lacking something. Beşiktaş still looked largely kind of drunk. A lot of, Kagawa was a little soft on his touch. A lot. I don't know what that was all about. And that would be adjudged by Şenol Güneş in the same way, and he would take Kagawa out in the 68th minute, bringing in Güven Yalçın. In still that wouldn't do it. There was still a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a stalemate, right? It was a stalemate by and large, mostly as a product of kind of ineptitude, especially on the part of Beşiktaş. I think Sivas might actually just not be very good. In the I lost it. In the 84th minute, Ribalka would come out of the match for Yandaş. In the 87th minute, Jermaine Lens would come out of the match for Ozyakup. We haven't seen him in a while. And then that action would be almost immediately rewarded. In the 87th minute, there was a goal. Burak Yilmaz scoring on a free kick. And again, I'm going to hand the mic over to Evran Akman.
So Lajic won a free kick about, trying to say, maybe 25 plus meters out, a little bit.
Yeah,
to the left side.
26, yeah.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with meters, so I'm estimating a little bit. But it was a good distance out, and Burak said, I'm taking this free kick. There's everyone else backed off. Burak is taking it. Everyone probably would have thought, Adem Lajic, another special from him, but Burak says, no, I'm taking this. Puts the ball down. A little bit of a Talisca-esque free kick with the top spin. It soars into the opposite corner, so the corner the goalie was originally standing on, hits the crossbar, bounces down, and bounces back into the roof of the net. Everyone goes crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what a goal. The team really came together and celebrated well. You could see the meaning of it was there for them. That was nice. And I think you're right to say that it was a little ballsy of Burak in that he was having something of an off day, and still he just stepped up and was like, you know what, I know I can do this. And he did.
Yeah. We need to remember he did it a couple of weeks ago too. Which game was that? At home, I think, against was that Rize?
Was that the Rize match?
No, that was away. It was before that. It was which game was that?
Konya, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was Konya. Yeah.
Konya.
I think it was Konya. But I think you can see that there's a little bit of a rapport there between Lajic and Burak, because it's more of a look, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And I feel, and Lajic doesn't make a ding out of it. Yeah. It's good that shows some team spirit there. And of course, if he blasts that wide or whatever, then the problems start. But because of course he shoots it in, there's not much people can say. And Lajic thus far has not been a cock in the hen house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you've got those types that are gonna be the cock in the hen house. Yeah,
Quaresma, right? No offense, Evran. This is actually come up.
I didn't wanna say it, but yeah, he's definitely a cock in the hen house. And when you've got too many cocks in the hen house, then
you got trouble.
You've got a problem. and Burak's definitely another one of those cocks. And I'm using that word purely in the chicken-esque
I know.
way.
I'm not gonna beep that out because it's contextual. That's fair. Fair is fair.
Of course. But I mean, yeah, he's really taking on a leadership role in this team. Whether or not he's playing a good game or is having an off day, but he's stepping up, taking responsibility, and Leitch's too. By the way,
he was probably.
And I think
we'll talk about this later, but he was there today. He showed up despite maybe no one else doing it or very few.
Yeah, the thing is that teams are trying to figure out how they can keep Leitch locked, but the thing with him is even if you keep him out of the match as much as you can, he's still proven to be so lethal with those set pieces. I mean, against Başakşehir, I think Başakşehir did a really good job last week at keeping Leitch out of the match as much as they could, but you can't really do nothing about a player that's taking good set pieces at the time, who's in a good form and all that. But Burak takes up the responsibility. And I think a lot of people were probably having the same reaction as everyone had. I know a couple of people in our group said I was ready to swear at him for not letting Leitch take it, but then he does that. And some might blame the goalkeeper there, but I think Tolgahan said it after the match as well. We put a 4-man wall up, and Beşiktaş put a couple of people in the wall too. They obscured my vision as much as they could, and I thought it was going out, but then it curled in, and he just gave credit where the credit was due. This was a fantastic strike from Burak. And I've made a comparison before with Cristiano Ronaldo, but Ronaldo has a far higher free kick count to get per goal than Burak has, I think.
That's probably
a hot take. We're going in with a real hot take today.
Well, I know that statistically Ronaldo scores scores a goal every 50 free kicks. So right now Burak's 2 for 2. So yeah.
Just saying, hint, hint. To those keeping track. But yeah. But so that was the 87th minute, so the good timing also. In the 90th minute, Aruna Kone would come into the match for Ndinga. Also in the 90th minute, Erdoğan Yeşilyurt would come in for Emre Kılınç. That would signal all the subs for the match. In the 5th minute of extra time, there were 6. Gökhan Gönül got himself a yellow card, which I don't know what that does.
Rarity, I don't think anything, because he rarely gets a card, so that must be like his second or so this season, maybe.
Yeah, I hope we have to take stock.
It didn't have any consequences. There wasn't any, like Medel, for example. He's suspended for the next game, but Gökhan isn't, and I'll quickly check. But pretty sure he didn't have many yellow cards before this.
In fact, we kind of want Burak to get one. Also, we want these guys to be getting their card suspensions out before the big Burak's match.
Burak's recently had a suspension, so he should be fine.
I thought we were waiting for one more. I thought maybe Evran said that. I'm going to blame this on Evran. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so anyway, that was it. 6 minutes of extra time. Still no reaction from Sivasspor, and the match ended. I didn't cover many of the missed opportunities. Very late in the game, Burak Yılmaz had a number of opportunities dropped to him.
Was it Burak that struck the post?
No, and then I was going to say that was Güven Yalçın, I think, who struck the post.
Oh, okay.
At the end, it was Dorukhan.
Dorukhan hit the post.
Right,
yeah. I think
it was Dorukhan.
I think Güven may have squandered one shot as well. There was a lot of activity late in the match, but anyway, it ended up being the free kick that got Beşiktaş through. And yeah, Beşiktaş 2-1 victorious, or I should say 1-2 since they're on the road. Victorious again in this great run. I think 12 matches now unbeaten. We'll talk about what that means for Beşiktaş now on the table. Kaan, maybe I'll hand it to you.
Yeah, with that late result on the match day 28, right? Match day 28. 29. So there's five games left. Başakşehir drew this weekend, coming off their defeat last week against us. Of course, they got a last-minute draw against Sivasspor with a penalty. Not the first time in the recent weeks where they get a draw in the dying minutes of a match with a late awarded VAR penalty. But so they drop another 2 points. Galatasaray didn't. They managed to win at home against Antalya. Kayserispor, right? 3-1, I think it ended. So the difference there remains 3 points. We're 3 points behind Galatasaray, and we're 6 behind Başakşehir now. So you have to keep in mind we were 11 points behind Başakşehir not too long ago. So 6 points. It does have to be said that Başakşehir's schedule now isn't as bad anymore. I mean, they had 2 major tests with Beşiktaş and Sivasspor. I think that was couple of weeks ago when we pointed to their schedule. We knew that these were going to be the potential hiccups in their schedule. They still have that match away at Galatasaray, but apart from that, they theoretically don't have the toughest games anymore. I think they play Göztepe next week at home. Göztepe are in very poor form right now. They're down in the relegation zone. They need a win would probably get them out of the relegation zone, but they've just been so absolutely poor lately, not being able to get wins at home against direct competitors for the relegation. So I really don't harbor much hope that they're going to be able to pull something out of their head against Başakşehir, but you never know. A cornered, injured animal can still bite. And then Galatasaray, I think we kind of have it in our own hands in that regard. We still play Galatasaray. Of course, it's an away match. But Galatasaray, so they still play us and they still play Başakşehir here. We're only 3 points behind. But, I mean, winning away at Galatasaray is always going to be tough. So I know, for us, it's really difficult. Galatasaray have a real chance now despite messing up last week. Had they won last week against Fenerbahce, they would have been favorites for the title right now. At the moment, they would still have to win against Başakşehir, and I don't remember what their first encounter with Başakşehir ended up being, but I don't know how their head-to-head would look and how many goals they'd need, but they're in a decent position now. All right, so basically if they beat Başakşehir, they're champions if they win everything. For us, we need Başakşehir to drop at least
another match or 2.
Yeah, six more points, and we need to win everything, and we need to score more goals because our head-to-head is the same with them. Apparently, away goals don't count. Yusuf researched that earlier. So we lost 1-0 to Başakşehir, and then we beat them at home 2-1. So it's 2-2 basically head-to-head. So there's no differential there. So it will go down to goal differential, and of course we've got a great. We're the highest scoring team in the league, but we're conceding more goals, and Başakşehir have a fantastic defensive unit. So I think the deficit in terms of goals right now is 6. So we'd have to make up 6 goals if we'd end up on level points. But should be pointed out too, this is the possibility of this is very slim, but you never know. If all Beşiktaş, Galatasaray, and Başakşehir end on level points, then it'll go down to head-to-head, I think.
It's a 3-way head-to-head, right?
Yeah, three-way head-to-head, and I think then Beşiktaş would end up on top, assuming we don't lose in Türk Telekom.
Oh my gosh! So it's amazing that there's even reason for us to be this, invested in the season at this stage of the season, just given everything.
I don't think anyone.
But Kaan, before we recenter all of this and bring it back to this match, I want the reason you're in charge of the table is because you are, of course, the most informed re the rest of the Super League, and that's where I think you've got to make a plug here, hey.
Yeah, for sure. Check out Football Ala Turca, which covers the entirety of the Super League. We usually we record on every Monday. Unfortunately, I had a very busy weekend, so I wasn't able to take all my notes, and we're going to be recording tomorrow. But usually Football Ala Turca hits every Tuesday morning / Monday evening for you in Europe. It kind of depends on how much time I have for editing and all that kind of stuff. But it's a show with Beşiktaş fan, myself, Fenerbahce fan, Burak Sizgin, and a Galatasaray fan, Özer Dincer. And we also have some people coming in as substitutions from time to time when one of us isn't available. But those are the 3 base hosts, so to speak. And we talk about the entire Super League, really. And we focus mainly a little bit. We spend a little bit more time on Beşiktaş, Fenerbahce, and Galatasaray than we do most other teams. But we definitely give all the other clubs and matches their due, and we go in depth on VAR decisions. We have a lot of discussions on VAR. If that's something that interests you, for sure, check it out. Me and Özer especially differ in opinion a lot on when it comes to VAR. I'm a big proponent. He's a big opponent of VAR. So definitely check that out.
Great. But so yeah, let's bring this whole ship back on course. Of course, we're going to get into analysis, but first, let me give you guys a bit of a statistical background on today's match. Shots. Now, this is where things were stark. 21 shots by Beşiktaş to 8 by Sivasspor, but only 6 on target by Beşiktaş to 4 on the part of Sivas. Possession was 65% in favor of Beşiktaş, Sivas having 35%. 570 completed passes to their 299. Beşiktaş passed at an 83% rate. Very accurate today. Sivas at 68%. Sivas committed 18 fouls to Beşiktaş's 15. 3 yellow cards, however, were dispensed to Beşiktaş players to only 1 on the part of Sivas. No red cards. Both sides were adjudged to be offsides twice. Beşiktaş had 8 corners to Sivas's 4. So, statistically, one would have to say that Beşiktaş was thoroughly dominant today. I don't personally feel that that's really an accurate reflection of what we saw, though. So, I'm gonna have to hand it over to you guys on that regard. But so, what do you think? Here, hold on. Let me give it to Evran because he's been quiet for a minute. Evran, what do you think about that statistically?
I think this was for the past 2 weeks. We actually didn't have possession, which was unusual. We faced teams that actually wanted to play, but this week was more along the usual, where the Anadolu team just sits back and tries to counterattack. So I think it kind of re-exposed the issues we were seeing before, where we have possession, but it's usually in between the 2 center backs and it's Tiba just kind of going back and forth, trying to find any sort of splitting pass to the midfield to break the lines. But overall, I don't think you could say we didn't deserve to at least get a tie. I don't think Sivas could really argue. They had the goal, which was a mistake, and then they had one huge chance before that, which they missed. But other than that, they didn't really create much.
Would you say we are better as a reactionary team than as a dominating team?
I would.
This season, yeah, it seems so. We're better when we can counterattack a little bit. I think when we played Ghent, or is it Genk?
Genk. Yeah, you said that last time. You said Ghent.
Come on, Evran. You're not worldly enough. You gotta.
I was like, seriously, dude.
Come on.
It's like comparing Texas with Toronto.
My defense, they're both blue, and there's only 1 letter difference, and sometimes.
And they're both.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing for sure.
But yeah, I think you'd have to say that. And actually, I think it's even in a weird way kind of a reflection of Şenol Güneş tactically in general. If you look at where the majority of his success has been with Beşiktaş recently, since those titles, which are now multiple years back.
But you can win prizes with reactionary football. Look at Real Madrid, three Champions Leagues in a row.
But that's
it's just
not
saying. That effective in the league.
That's where I was going with this. Is look at his successful Champions League run last season, and I think it's a reflection of the fact that Beşiktaş kind of plays better when they don't have to inherently be overmatched, but when they're playing kind of humbly in that regard, and more emphasizing the counters and shoring up their defensive line and stuff. I don't like that brand of football personally. I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, at the end of the day, you just want Beşiktaş to win. But yeah, I think your statement is accurate, Kaan. That Beşiktaş, or I guess your question.
By the way,
I don't know.
By the way, do you realize that after how many games are we in? 12 games into the second half of the season, and we've already got 4 points more than we did in the entirety of the first half of the season. Imagine if we just got 4 points more in that first half of the season.
And again, you can't say that that's not a trend with Şenol Güneş's teams.
It cost us the title last season. It's gonna cost us the title this season,
unless a miracle drops into our laps.
Unless a miracle happens, but we lost the title in the first half of the season again this season.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we still got a chance now, but let's be honest. I mean, we're basically chasing a 2-horse race, and we're kind of in third, a little bit behind, a stretch behind, and we're kind of hoping for both of them to fall. In the final stretch. Yeah. That's basically what we're hoping for at this point.
And to the extent that it is in our hands, like we beat Başakşehir here. We have to obviously beat Galatasaray. At the very least, what I kind of like is that even if we don't win the title, we could still play the spoiler for Galatasaray. I think I hate to say this because it's really I hate Başakşehir to its core, to what it represents. But I think I'd still prefer to see them take the title over Galatasaray.
The problem that we have is that we play Galatasaray before we play Başakşehir, before they play Başakşehir.
So, yeah.
If they would have faced off first, and then, for example, Galatasaray beat them or keep them to a draw, and they drop points again. I mean, Başakşehir can. Yeah, a draw wouldn't be enough. We need them to beat them. So it's
yeah.
I think if we look at their schedule right now, the schedule Başakşehir have left, we're gonna need them to lose against a team that we really don't expect them to lose
in this coming week.
I think if Rizespor couldn't do it, then I don't really see a team outside of Galatasaray in those final 5 fixtures that I really see capable of beating this Başakşehir, because this was maybe the first time this second half of the season, so this calendar year basically, where I've seen them really in jeopardy. Like even, last week too, of course, the second half they really didn't pose much of a threat against us, except for the final couple of minutes. So they definitely looked in jeopardy there. But when did they draw? A week or two before that, they had like a 97th-minute penalty equalizer. Yeah, but in that match, they were so dominant. They could have scored 5. Yeah. They didn't look in jeopardy there, despite being behind. Last week against us, I mean, look, it's a big team. They're away at Vodafone. It's difficult for them. So that's not unthinkable that they'd lose that. But I really saw them being in jeopardy this week against Rizespor. And the penalty that they got was... I'm not going to say it wasn't a penalty, but they were definitely fishing for it. I mean, Mahmoud was clearly fishing for a penalty there. He was going to go down regardless if there was contact, I think.
100%.
They were desperate there.
I think that was a bad
real desperation, and they got bailed out. It kind of changes things too for us, because I mean, had that ended in a loss, then that's 5 points, and we just need them to basically lose once and draw once. And then we can just beat them out on goal differential.
Exactly.
So now they need, now they either have to draw 3 times, or they have to lose, or they would have to lose twice, preferably lose twice, because that would impact their goal differential a lot more than drawing twice, because that would just keep it even. But I just don't. I realistically, I don't see it happen. Although, I mean, when do they play Galatasaray? I think it's the 33rd.
Second to last.
So let me quickly, just so that everyone is very clear on this. So this coming match day will feature them at home against Göztepe, and Göztepe is at the bottom, really fighting for survival. So there's a potential for something there.
Yeah, and they've been
Sivasspor, but then
terrible.
they're on the road in Sivas. We saw Sivas today; they're really not good. But they've done stuff.
Sivas were really good in the first half of the season, but they've really let up in the second half of the season. I mean, they sold Robinho, of course, and he was important for them, and they had a good first run of the season, but they've been. Kind of like Malatya, a little bit of a letdown in the second season. Yeah.
Then they've got Ankara at home. That's Ankara Gücü's trash. Then on the 19th of May, they're going to be on the road in the Türk Telekom Arena, playing against Galatasaray. And then their final match day, Kaan, this is of note too. They're playing Alanyaspor.
Yeah. I wouldn't agree with you. Ankara Gücü have been strong in the second half of the season, so they could pose a threat. Sivasspor, you never know. They could be tough, because they're not. They were. I wasn't impressed by them today, but I mean, they were capable enough of making it difficult for us. They might be able to do that against Başakşehir. Although I think Başakşehir, when it comes to combination football, they're gonna have a little bit of an easier time.
Guys like Emre Kılınç can have these moments of brilliance.
But Alanyaspor could hurt them. Ankara Gücü could hurt them. I mean, even Sivasspor perhaps on their day.
I think Göztepe.
So
it'd be nice if this was in Izmir, obviously, because they have a nice fan backing. Yeah. But I think Göztepe, they're still fighting for something at the bottom there. So.
Yeah, of course, they're going to be desperate. They have to get some points, and they're definitely going to have the home advantage, even though they're playing away. I mean, you just know that the stadium's going to be pretty filled with Göztepe fans, either traveling from Izmir or just, Izmir natives living in Istanbul. Yeah. So they'll have the support from the fans in the stadium.
And probably Galatasaray and Beşiktash fans coming to support the away.
Yeah, guys. I mean, you know what? I think it's all gonna come down to really what are we gonna do in Türk Telekom? What is I mean, we have to. Let's be honest. We have to win
Yeah.
everything. We have to win the next 5 games. We have to win everything. And if we win everything, we have a chance. But if we win everything, we have second place. That's guaranteed.
Yeah.
That's a positive
great
thing.
thing.
But we'd have to go and win away at Galatasaray, who are in the middle of a title chase. That's not going to be easy. Even if we look at the overall trend in the second half of the season, we're playing better. We're more informed than Galatasaray, but still Galatasaray at home in the middle of a title race. They're gonna, that's just not. They haven't lost at home since we beat them. I think like 2 seasons ago. So they've gone an entire season unbeaten at home last season. They haven't lost at home in the league this season. Obviously, they've lost in Europe at home, but and even in the cup, I think. But when it comes to the league, they haven't lost at home in almost 2 full seasons now. I think we are the last one that beat them at home, and that was in a season where they were not contending for the title. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. I think beating them, even if they're not that impressive right now, it's always gonna be tough.
Yeah. Well, so it's sort of fitting of this season, characteristic of it, that we would talk about the last 5 matches of Başakşehir before Beşiktaş's last 5 matches. But I think it should be. We should talk about really quickly. Let me run through the Beşiktaş's remaining matches, and of course, usually we just talk about the next one. But since there are so few remaining, and we're kind of in this vein of thought, Beşiktaş will be hosting Ankaragücü next week.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll be on the road to Galatasaray. Then they're hosting Alanyaspor also. Then they'll be on the road in Trabzon. That one's going to be on May 19th. So May 19th is a big match day all around the league. Beşiktaş is then going to close out the season at home against Kasim Pasha. That's good news. But besides Kasim Pasha, we have a tall task there as well, I'd say. Evran, you've been quiet. What do you think about all this? What do you think? Do you think it's a reasonable thing to do at this stage to want or to even hope for Beşiktaş winning out this season?
I mean, I think
considering the opposition
after Başakşehir dropped points in 3 of the last 4 games, I think 4 weeks ago we were 13 points behind, and now it's dropped down to 7. It definitely is reasonable. Although they have an experienced team, right now they're playing with 2 midfielders and center back, Atama and Mahmoud. I'm not sure if anyone will be coming back from injury before the end of the season, but they look a little bit uneasy and a little bit nervous, despite them all being like 35 years old. But it's not. I wouldn't bet the house on it at any point, but there's a reason to be hopeful.
So Aurelian, if you're listening, you better be listening. He was like, "Just take us out of our misery. Oh, why do we never have hope? Like, come on, guys. Like, enjoy this. You have to at least at this stage there is something to hope for, and I think we can consider ourselves realistic. Kaan and I 3 weeks ago we'd already stuck the fork in it, right? Like we were like, this is it. We're not. Let's just like hope we can see some guys play well and develop. Like the season was over.
Our season was over in February. That's what we thought at least.
Exactly.
Or even before that, but maybe in December already.
But so you could never predict the breakdown that we've seen thus far with Başakşehir.
Well, it's not really a breakdown. I mean, they've gone the entire second half of the season unbeaten until last weekend, literally. I mean, you can't really call it a breakdown, but I think that we've been pretty good the second half of the season. Not amazing, not utterly impressive, but I think we can safely say that I think at this point, you can never be 100% sure, but before it was a lot of hypothetical stuff, and it was always going to be hypothetical, but I think at this point we can almost safely say had we had Burak from the start of the season, had we had Laiç playing from the start of the season, we'd probably be first right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference right now is 6 points. We got 26 in the first half of the season. That's absolutely abysmal. I mean, had we gotten 32 points, which would still be mediocre for a title contender, then we would literally be in first place right now. Shared first place, sure, but come on, 26 points is just so bad. And we've been good.
Terrible.
Right now we're on track to. I mean, got 5 games left. So let's say we win all 5. That's 45 points in a season half. That hasn't happened in. I think the last time that happened was a 2010-2011 season when Fenerbahce basically won everything in the second half of the season, and we all know how controversial that was. And we can't really say that there's much controversy in our current run. I mean, we've been in some games we've been scraping by, and I mean, again today I think the referee was pretty bad. And I mean,
terrible.
if you look at that penalty that Başakşehir gets, and then you look at what happens in the first half with Burak, and you're like, I mean...
Yeah, I forgot to mention that play. Yeah, that was big, actually.
And there's a couple of moments like that this season. I remember one on Mirin, which is... I don't remember which game it was, but it was like a very clear push on Mirin on a set piece where you could easily get a penalty, and we ended dropping points in that match. But that's... I mean, I'm not going to put it on the referees, the fact that we're where we are right now, because it's not on them. But I mean, when you're in the first position like Başakşehir is, and they're playing good football, credit where credit's due, but they've gotten the short end of the stick literally once, I think, and that was against Fenerbahce in Kadıköy, where they got a 100% goal disallowed for offside, and VAR was offline, so it couldn't correct it. So that was very, very... that was very favorable for Fenerbahce at that time. But I mean, apart from that, they've gotten some really favorable calls here and there, left and right. And obviously, that might be the luck of the champions. Sometimes, I mean, usually when you're in that position, you're just gonna get those decisions. But I mean, there's controversial stuff happening here and there, and that's gonna happen always. It's always gonna happen. But maybe had we gotten a couple of controversial decisions, and I'm not advocating that, but had we gotten a couple of those decisions in the first half of the season, we might be in a different position right now. But I mean,
I want to counter one thing there, Kaan. There's a little bit of room for debate insofar as you don't want to call it a breakdown, but the facts are, and whether or not
it can turn into a breakdown.
First, well, but just bear in mind, in their last 4 matches, they have 1 win, 2 draws, and the draw against Kaiser you mentioned was slightly undeserved. They probably should have won it, but that's at this stage of the season, they had a fairly, it looked like, insurmountable lead over Galatasaray for a minute.
Yeah.
And so they've really, they're leaving it late at the very least.
Yeah, and that's the little sparkle of hope we have to hold on to, and that's also why I've been saying for months now we have to hope for Galatasaray to keep up the pressure too. It can't just be us. It needs to be the two of us, because that's the pressure. That a 2-horse race is so much easier. A 3-horse race, even though it's not really a 3-horse race, but it kind of is a little bit. We're
getting there. It's getting.
Yeah, it's Galatasaray dropped points last week, but we managed to pull Başakşehir down and actually made Galatasaray gain a point on them. And it's the sparkle of hope that we have right now is just the fact that they had such a royal lead on both of us. They had an 8-point lead on Galatasaray and an 11-point lead on us, and right now it's just a 3 and a 6-point lead, and that, no matter what you say, no matter how strong they are mentally, that's going to have an impact. And if they...
Were we not 13 points back?
It was 13 4 weeks ago.
Might have been 13 points back at some point. But you need to keep in mind... it's all going to come down to... you're right. It's all going to come down to the fact whether in these types of games against Göztepe, are they going to be able to score early or not? If the longer the longer that takes them to score in those types of matches, the more nervosity is going to creep in. And beforehand, I think Başakşehir throughout the season have kind of had this serenity over them, where even if the goal didn't come early, they kind of kept calm. They kept just playing their football, and they knew that goal was going to come at some point. But you could see against Sivasspor this past weekend that there was that nervosity, and of course Rize are an extremely competent opponent offensively, so you knew that they were going to be dangerous on the break, and Göztepe are a lot less competent in that regard, but you could see there was doubt creeping in, and you could see the cracks starting to show, and that in this final stretch of 5 games that could happen more. And I think the good thing is they don't have particularly tough opponents, like they don't have
Trabzon or something.
Yeah, they don't have like really big games anymore, but those opponents they're playing aren't pushovers either. They're not they're not playing Erzurumspor anymore. They're not playing Akhisar anymore. They're not playing.
Hey, Erzurum's getting dangerous again, man.
Yeah, but they're not playing. Yeah, I mean, Erzurum kept them to a draw, so okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're not playing. Bursa as a pushover would be a pushover win, an easy win for them right now. But they're not playing those anymore. Like
or
I think
Akhisar, I think Akhisar would be the most clear.
Yeah, I mean, on paper right now, Göztepe is the easiest match they have left. All the other ones could be tests, and you need to keep in mind Ankaragücü. I usually don't like to pull politics in here, but Ankaragücü are not a team that favors the AKP. They have a very poor experience with them. With the previous mayor of Ankara, who. Kind of ruined the club and all that kind of stuff. And of course, in Ankara right now, one of the big cities that voted CHP, that's going to play a role, I think. It is going to be an important match for the fandom of Ankaragücü. They are going to want to put a stick in Başakşehir's wheels. They're definitely going to be motivated for that match, I think. If that translates over to the player squad, of course. But then there's lots of players in Ankaragücü that came in during the winter, and they're going to want to show themselves. And which better opportunity there's going to be than to show themselves against the league leaders? Obviously, they're going to want to show themselves this coming weekend against us as well. But I think Ankaragücü could be tricky for them. Alanya, I mean, Sergen's going to play. I mean, especially if we still have a chance, he's going to do everything he can to beat them to cost them points. Realistically, I think we have to be real. Second place should, until further notice, be our aim, and we'll have to wait and see what happens in those last couple of games, those last 2 to 3 games. If we're still in contention at that point, then we can start hoping maybe.
Goes. Let's go.
Yeah.
And just to wrap it up, as a metaphor, to refocus again on Beşiktaş, and then I want everyone to say something. But
I got some questions for everyone actually, so don't worry.
Good. A nice metaphor would be to say, as far as if this were a horse race, considering we're 13 points back, Beşiktaş was like that horse that's started to pull up and is speeding into contention, and they kind of have that momentum now, having been unbeaten for 12 matches. So Beşiktaş could be that horse that kind of pulls out, from behind. In that metaphor, anyway. I don't know if we can really do it, but yeah, I mean, you gotta like the motivation we have right now. You gotta like the fact that we are no longer soulless, as we often describe the team. So many matches in the first half of the season. But so anyway, let's talk a little bit more about this match. And Evran, I want you to be the first to tell us who is your man of the match, who is your highlight, and who is your low light.
Man of the match. I would have to go. Although Burak won the game for us, he was awful for a lot of that, if we're being honest. So I can't give him the man of the match. But I'd have to pick Lajic, because I just think throughout the game, the first goal came from him, although he didn't get the assist. And he was the one who was always creating chances. He just looked like, if anything was going to happen, it looked like it was going to come from him. And he also won the free kick, which Burak scored off of. So he had 2 indirect contributions to each goal.
Yeah.
It's been like that for months now, really, where he's the spark, And we spoke about spark. Even going back to last season, we spoke a lot about spark. I think where Beşiktaş are missing a spark, and I think he's really been providing that. Even in these types of games, we can't really say that he had 3-4 great chances created from open play today, but he's a constant danger. If they leave him unmarked for a second, they know they're gonna get trouble, and that's, I think, that allows other players to be dangerous as well, because they're going to get less tightly.
I think Evran just broke. That was a bit of a party foul. When Lajic is a competitor for the highlight of the match, it's a rule that Kaan needs to be given the ability to. You just broke all the rules. I'm going to be frank with you now. But yeah, for sure. I think if you're talking about the highlights today, there are probably 3 guys that could merit it, and you've definitely taken one of them out there. I guess before I get your low light, actually, Kaan, what about you? Who would you give it to, since he's already taken your man? He's stolen your thunder.
No, I think I'm going to go with Burak, actually. I do not agree that he was awful. I didn't think he was awful. I didn't think he was particularly good today. But he was winning a lot of duels, though, and he was working hard again, which we've been seeing almost every game, I think, where he's just combating those defenders and working hard for the team. I'm going to give him the man of the match because he won the match, because he's the match winner, because he literally won the 2 points. Yes, Lige got the free kick. Lige was instrumental in that goal, in our first opener goal. I'm going to give him the man of the match because there's not an obvious player sticking out. And this is that type of a goal where he literally won the game for us. I'm going to give him the man of the match because I also disagree with the fact that he was poor. I don't think he was poor. He wasn't particularly good today. I mean, he had one opportunity and the goalkeeper saved it. He had a couple of near opportunities where he was like a fraction of a second too late.
But he had two. He had one shot that was just wide, and then he also had the point blank that was right into the keeper's crotch.
Right, yeah. But I mean, yeah, I think you kind of have to acknowledge his contributions. And I mean, it's not just a goal today, but throughout the first half of the season, how many matches has he played for us right now? I think we're 12 games into the second half of the season.
He's had 9. 8 goals, 9 goals in 9 matches.
11. I think he's got 9 goals in 11 games because he started playing the first match straight away. Because remember, we were all talking about, oh, look, it's Burak and Chinel puts him in straight away, but everyone else has to wait for 5 months. But he put him in straight away. We're 12 matches into the second half of the season. He missed 1 due to suspension. I don't think he missed anything else. So it's 11 matches, 9 goals.
The beIN Sports USA guy had said it was 8 and 8 during the match today. But the beIN Sports USA guy was a train wreck today, so I'm gonna maybe veer with you on this one.
He might have 8 in his last 8. That might be the point he's making.
No, he said he has 8
for Beşiktaş.
Yeah, he said it like that. But
let me. You know what? I'll quickly.
He has 9 goals in 10 games for us.
So you guys are both wrong. How about we right in the middle? I think he's still good.
Let me see.
Still a great track record, though. No doubt. And your point
it's incredible. I mean,
your point certainly stands. But I'm gonna still make the argument that I would not give him the highlight today. And when I said there were 3 candidates, he was not one of them in my mind. I certainly wouldn't call him a candidate for the low light, and you could never do that given he scored a goal. But I would veer more towards Evran and say I didn't think he had this was an off day, and I think everyone has them. He's a human. And I think this was just one of those.
I guess it kind of depends what you expect from him. If you want him to score, right? He's got 11 games, man. 11
games.
Oh, in your face, Evran.
11 matches, 913 minutes, and 9 goals. So a goal every 102 minutes or something.
Oh yeah, 11 games. Yep. I can't count.
I didn't count today's maybe. Anyway, yeah, but no doubt, like it's a phenomenal record, and you can't question the decision to keep him out on the pitch because again, right, he can provide that goal at any minute.
I mean,
and so that's where it's great to have him. But for me, the 3 contenders were again Ljajic, who Evran already stole from everyone else, and then also I would say Gökhan Gönül, who was fantastic, and also I would say Atiba, who teetered on okay to good today, but I push him into having a good game because he kind of made up for a lot of people's mistakes. A lot of Shinji Kagawa's short passes, he would kind of make the effort to get onto. Despite that, even Gökhan Gönül had a few kind of errant passes that he would kind of fight for. So he was vital, I thought. I mean, for me, those would be the main candidates. But you can't if you think about like FIFA. The video game would probably have given it to Burak Yilmaz because he did. He had the moment that defined the match. So it's debatable.
I mean, it's he played a Ronaldo match.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah, he did, man. He did.
There goes the Ronaldo take.
I've made that comparison so often, but he really is the Turkish Ronaldo. And I'm not talking about talent. I'm talking about just the how he plays, how he motivates himself, how he keeps fit, how he's 34 years old but still looks absolutely at the top of his game.
It's a ridiculous comparison if you look at their careers, but that's where it's kind of weird because I think if you look at the last let's say 7 seasons. It's an interesting point. He's like the Benjamin Button.
When you compare him to, for example, a Messi or a Zidane or a Maradona or whatever, if you look at pure talent-wise, he's more work than he's talent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think it's the same thing's true for Burak. He's more work than he's talent. He just works really hard.
He keeps his body in shape.
And you can see that he just doesn't tire of scoring goals. He never has enough. He keeps going for every ball. Yeah. And I think that's something that makes the difference between a good striker and a really good striker. I think that's something that, for example, Kyle Lawrence severely lacks. that
I was just thinking that. Man just stands there.
But I think Lauren, if he had that, he'd actually be a Beşiktaş level player. I don't think that when we look at pure talent, like technical talent and all that kind of stuff, I don't think there's that much of a difference between them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't think Lauren's gonna kick a free kick like that, but still, Burak's not. He doesn't have the best first touch in the world. He's not a great dribbler by any means, and he's a pretty technically average player, but it's all mental,
He makes it work, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so then let's make sure we don't just see everything in rose-colored glasses. I'm gonna again give it to Evran first, since he's like the quiet one today.
Hey, that's unfair, man. That's unfair.
Who's the low light for you? Who's the worst man out there?
I know who you guys are gonna pick, so I'm not gonna pick him. But I think the man you guys are gonna pick was actually pretty good before he made that glaring mistake on the goal.
Oh.
But I'm not good in not meaning not awful. Let me put it that way. But if I had, there wasn't like really anyone who was just like, other than him, who really stood out as just being like way worse than the rest. I think there was players that definitely disappointed me. Kagawa, when he started the game, you really
damn it, that's what I was gonna say, man.
You again steals concept.
What's
this rule of letting the youngest guy go first?
To come in and be a little more of a spark, and especially in the first half, he was just uncharacteristically sloppy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, poor first touches, and that's something when you think of Kagawa, the one thing you always think you're gonna be able to rely on is just that absolutely crisp first touch. And he had a couple of balls just jumping from his feet. I don't know if it was the pitch or what it was, but this was the worst match he's played for Beşiktaş.
I'm just gonna go with seven of those guys in the starting lineup today went out last night and got drunk. That's my take. You're not going to get a lot of pushback. I think both Kaan and I agree that Shinji Kagawa was particularly poor, especially just given who he is and what he should be capable of, and what he has even been capable of for us.
Yeah, he's shown plenty of quality already, but not today.
And that's maybe a talking point there too. Is what are we saying about the Adem Ljajic and Kagawa pairing? We're 0 for 2 so far. That's a fact, right? Like, it's not been particularly pretty.
Definitely. I think it needs more time. I think that needs a coach who works on that in training a lot. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they're working on that a lot in training, because I think this is a circumstantial thing where this guy's not there, that guy's not available, so I'm putting these two on the pitch at the same time. I think it was the same thing against Göztepe. I don't think he's doing that as his A plan. I think that's his B or even his C plan. So I think it's very important before we judge that, before we decide. And I fully agree it's 0-2 right now. But I think that's something you have to hammer home on training. You have to have those guys, the defensive triangle or whatever. You have to get them to gel more. And I think when both of them are on the pitch right now, one of them at least doesn't really know what he's where he's gonna have. I think the tasks aren't clear yet. I think a proper coach working. I mean, I'm not saying that Sean Gaines isn't a proper coach, but I think a new coach who's gonna work with them and who
kind of needs for it to work, right?
I made that point before Lucescu back in the day. He made that work. He made similar types of players work really well together. Sergen, Tümer, Ahmet Hasan, Panku. Offensive midfielders, and he made it work. I think he is, for example, a type of coach that could probably make Ljajic Kagawa work. I think it can work, but so far it hasn't. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Just wanna point out
I think you're
real
absolutely right. Sorry, 1 second. I just want to say
yeah.
as a follow up to that absolutely. I think when you have a new coach and their reputation with the club is staked in how they do, especially early on. There's that pressure to succeed. They're gonna feel like, okay, I have a guy like Kagawa, I have a guy like Ljajic. I need those guys out there performing well because if this team is going to succeed, it's probably going to incorporate both of them. And so, yeah, I think a new coach might have more pressure to make it work for the two of them in a weird way. But so sorry, Evran, go ahead.
I'm not sure if you guys like noticed this, but like in the first 10 minutes, it seemed like both Ljajic and Kagawa were both dropping deep near Atiba to get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, you could see, I believe it was Atiba yelling at them. So it was kind of like this disjointed, like they were both dropping in. And that first 10 minutes, we could not get the ball to pass the first defensive line, their first pressure. Yeah. And then after that, we kind of saw a more general, just let's go out to the wing and less interplay through the middle. So it seemed like there was kind of some sort of a layout or idea to let's try to play through the middle, and it wasn't really working. And it seemed like they just abandoned that after 10 minutes.
I think you can see right there that there's not been a lot of training, not a lot of practice and training on that, on playing them together. I think you're probably going to see when they're playing matches on training against each other, they're probably always going to be on opposite sides of the teams. You know.
Yeah, the number 10.
I think that's a problem. I think they can work. I think both Ljajic and Kagawa are players that have shown that they have quality enough to go out wide. I'm not saying that they permanently have to play out wide. They can interchange. They can, they can cut in. They can cut and then they can go over the wing. It doesn't matter. But I think they both have plenty of ability, technically and physically, to make that work. It's just a matter of a coach needs to put enough time into making it work. And I think that's just not the case right now. I think at the moment, Ljajic is clearly his number one. And we all know how Chanel has his picking order. And Ljajic is just number one right now. And Kagawa is not in his ideal first 11 at the moment. How Lens is probably still not in. I don't know if you
Where's
can.
Quaresma?
Yeah, but
let's not go there.
I think sorry, but now serious question for a minute now, Evran. Do you think the team has benefited from his absence? Honestly, look inward, and do you think the result would have been the same necessarily?
Well, obviously, I don't think.
We're talking about Quaresma now, audience.
Yeah, because a different player, I think you never know. Just like even if you make the right decision, you never know what's going to happen. Because maybe a player makes the wrong decision, you get lucky, something happens. So I think regardless of
of course. You can always have Quaresma swinging a cross, and we all know his qualities. But I think I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's kind of undeniable that we could not play the football we're playing right now if he was playing. I don't think. Yes, eccentrically, Quaresma has a lot more quality than Lens, but he can't do what Lens does. He can't do that work. He can't commit to that
not the motor
time. The fact that Lens is not standing out. He has very little end product. He got a great assist last week, but we don't really see much end product from him at the moment. But I think he does a lot.
Assist last week.
He assisted Brock's goal, man. That was Lens.
Beautiful back.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. He doesn't
Sorry,
get a lot
Evran.
of assists,
Sorry to
so
burst your
you're
bubble.
gonna have to remember those, man.
You're
gonna have to frame it and put it on your wall. But no, but I
I
think
don't know if you're gonna get that from Evran.
But I think what Lens allows, he doesn't just allow Gökhan Gönül to stand out more, but I think he also allows other players, like I think he has Burak getting more involved. I think he especially has Ljajic getting more involved. Indirectly, I'm not saying that that's due to Lens's quality or anything, but it's just because of Lens doesn't constantly demand the ball. And that's something you're always going to have with Quaresma. He's going to want that ball. And it's obviously up to his teammates to give him that ball, but if you're not gonna, Quaresma is not that effective. You have to give him the ball if you want him to be effective. As a runner, that time is kind of behind him. He can still do it. We've seen it, remember the 3-0 against Galatasaray last season where he made so many great runs and missed 100,000 chances. But what he was doing off the ball was great. except for the finishing. But he can still do that on occasion, but I don't think that's something he can do consistently. So I think when you're taking away the ball from Quaresma, where you're not constantly feeding it to him outright, I think you're taking away a lot of his ability. Now, I do still think, like in this game, for example, yes, we got the goal late with Burak, but I think these are the types of matches where you throw in a guy like Quaresma in the final 15 to 20 minutes, and then you can still play that crossing and inshallah type of football where you're going to hope that he crosses in a pinpoint pass. But I think I don't think we can play the football we're playing. And the argument that you made a couple of weeks ago where, the thing with Quaresma, he always has those set pieces. At this point, would you agree that at least those outswinging corners from the right, Lajic's outswingers are far more consistent?
I would say his outswingers are more consistent, but I wouldn't say that Lajic from like deep free kicks or in swingers is necessarily better, but for outswingers, he's definitely shown a consistency that
I think I agree with you.
Not shown.
Yeah, but
that sounds about right.
But I think when it comes to deep laying free kicks, we didn't have them today, but I think Janar is pretty good at those. And Lajic, he's had a couple of good ones, but I can't remember him being as consistently good with those as Quaresma.
He had a couple today, but they weren't.
Yeah,
I mean, he had one decent one that Juven almost got, but that was really bad.
But it's definitely those outswinging corners. I mean, last week at Başakşehir, they just couldn't find an answer to those, and I think when Başakşehir are struggling with that, you've got something there, because they're arguably the best organized defensive unit. Now, whether Upriana was there or not, still, when it comes to set pieces, they're very difficult to beat. Although, of course, last season too, we got them on set pieces in that draw with Tosic scoring late. But
sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think when it comes to consistency, Quaresma gets a lot of assists from corners, a lot of assists from free kicks. But especially when Quaresma takes a lot of free kick corners too, and he'll take, let's say he takes 5 corners and he'll have 2 or 3 stinkers. Let's be honest. That's true, right? He's gonna have one really good one. He's gonna have one maybe a little bit dangerous one. He's gonna couple of that's just fly over everyone. Yeah. But all of these Lajic corners are dangerous. Even the not so good ones. They're always dangerous. I think it's just very, and that's not necessarily because Lajic is a better kicker. I think it's just far more difficult to defend an outswinging corner than it is an in-swinging corner.
Well, statistically speaking, in-swingers go in more often. However, I think the difference with Lajic, he drives his corners more. He curves them less. Quaresma usually does like these higher looping corners. Mm-hmm. That's what he likes. He always crosses like that. Well, Lajic really puts his bone through. That's all I'll say. And yeah, it's not quite like a knuckle shot, but it's a hybrid between a curve and a shot. So any touch on it, and it's a little bit hard to judge. And if you hit a looping corner too hard, it'll go sailing over. Usually when I take corners, I take them more like Lajic. There is like an area of uncertainty, and you rarely see.
You're creating chaos in the box, and that's what it's unpredictable, and it's far more difficult to defend, especially when you're consistently kicking them well, than it is when you're, an in-swinging corner is easier to defend because it's more predictable what's going to happen. And like Evran says, I think a good outswinger is always going to be tough to judge because there's so many differing factors there to keep tabs on for a defending team.
Well, there's no arguing the efficacy of Lajic's shots of his corners these days. Well, so all right. I mean, for me, like my closing statement on this is that I think there's plenty of room for someone like Quaresma still, but it's really, I think, high time for him to be considered a super sub. And in that role, he could actually be elite still.
But then you have to then you have to make the argument: is he financially worth that? I mean, you're paying 2.1 or 2.3 million a year for a super sub. Given our financial situation, I don't think we can afford that.
That's where it becomes a conversation with him, where you can kind of say we don't really want to sell you, but we kind of have to because of your salary. On the other hand, if you're ready to like see out your career here and become whatever. Like here, we could offer this chance to you. We're going to pay you less, but you can, kind of be guaranteed enough of a role for sure in your twilight, or we might have to let you go. And he might choose Maybe he wants to go back to Portugal. I don't know what his feelings are.
I think Quaresma needs to go to the MLS.
Whoa!
No,
hot take.
No. I think he needs to go to a league where they'll appreciate him, where he's gonna be a leader in the team, where he's gonna be the star, the central role. I think he still has it in him physically to shine in a league like the MLS.
League.
I mean, he could go to the MLS in 5 years and still shine. I mean, I think Quaresma at this stage in his career, I think even though he's 35 going on 36, he doesn't want to be on the bench. I think he wants to play 90 minutes every week. And I don't think he's going to do that in Portugal unless he goes to a smaller club. He's not going to play 90 minutes every week for Porto. It's not going to happen. He's not going to play 90 minutes every week for Beşiktaş next season. So I think he needs to go to the MLS. I think the MLS, and the reason I say MLS is because he needs fans where he can play for, where he can showboat for. There's no fans.
He needs to.
Hey, wait! I actually have an anecdote for this. This is perfect timing for this. I went out. The weather is finally getting nice here in New York City. I went out to a cafe with my Quaresma shirt on. I have the red. This season's red shirt is a Quaresma, and a guy at the cash register at the cafe was like, Quaresma, whoa! Now that's a throwback. And of course, there's a hint of negativity in that comment, but at the same time, he knows Quaresma, he knows of him, he recognized the guy on the back of the shirt, so...
Or maybe he thought it was Quagliarella.
That'd be even worse. No, I mean, he seemed to kind of have a sense of what he was talking about, so... what that says is that, to back up what Kaan said about the MLS, people do know who this guy is, probably from his World Cup
I just think that for fulfillment wise, like I think the MLS would fit him. I mean, I don't think he can go to any other cash league where he would be happy. Don't think he'd be happy in China. Well, maybe Japan.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't think he'd be. Yeah, I don't think he'd be happy in the Middle East. He's done that, didn't like it. He wouldn't. I don't think he'd be happy in China. I think he could be happy maybe in Japan.
He could team up with Iniesta. Is it Iniesta in Japan? Or
Pisakova,
yeah. Villa and Torres are all in Japan.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
No, I think Villa is in Kobe too, isn't he?
Maybe. Yeah, he's on the same team as Iniesta.
Yeah, but I mean
Torres is Sagan Tosu or something like that.
But I mean, you could see him go to Japan, but I mean, I don't know. But I think I don't know. I think it fits, man. I think the MLS.
I think it fits, but I don't think it's time yet.
Everyone,
He's got at least 1 more year.
Denial, man.
He's got 1 more year at least.
All right. Let's guys. We got to keep this thing going. We got to keep this ship floating. Kaan, quickly. Let's pull this thing back in. Who for you? Since once again, Evran stole your thunder. Who for you would be your lowlight then today?
So did you definitively pick Kagawa or what?
You did.
Yeah,
you did.
I picked Kagawa.
Well, I guess the only other option really is Medel then.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not really anyone that was particularly poor. I think it was a lot of mediocrity today.
I'm gonna throw a wild card out there because it's fun and it seems to be that time of the episode. I'm gonna go with Şenol Güneş, and here's the thing: if you don't have a left back, if both of your left backs are injured or whatever was going on there. Here's a novel idea. Why not change up your tactic? Why not play with 3 guys on the back line and 5 midfielders? Like, why not shake things up? I mean, okay, fine. At this stage of the season, given there's something on the line, yes. Maybe you don't want to play the youth player on the left side of the defense, right? You don't want to play Ridvan or whoever that is.
Yeah.
Fair. But, I don't know. Medel's thrived in the role where he's best is on a 3-man back line.
Yeah,
go for it.
But
then.
when you
these are dire circumstances. Both of your left backs are not available, right? Like that's not.
Yeah, but when you play with a 3-man back line in defense, you're still gonna play with a 5-man back line because your wing backs are gonna fall back down. And I don't think Laic can play in that role. I think it's asking too much.
Janner was playing that role previously.
Yeah. Janner wasn't, and he can do that. So I think he was really in a pickle today. He could have given Ridvan the nod, but it's not like we're playing for nothing. So it's.
Yeah, that's why I get that. I mean, there's got to be someone else we can play then. I guess there really isn't. We don't have any guys on the wing.
He could put Dorkan. He could, Lens. Lens, but then we don't have anyone.
Yeah, we don't have other wingers though.
I mean,
but then,
Lens could do it, but then I mean, I think you're already putting him out of position.
But then you know what? Maybe you do. Maybe you put
yeah.
Lens there, and then you play Gouven on the wing, which we've done previously. You know, I don't know.
I'm not a fan.
I don't
know.
trust Gouven as your out and out winger.
I really don't.
Yeah, I don't
You either
really,
have
honestly.
need Lens or Quaresma there for that to work. You at least have a winger, not.
Gouven,
Yeah, we do
I mean,
have like God. It's funny
two
how we
pseudo
have like
wingers.
not enough guys at certain positions.
yeah, we're short on wingers right now. Really, if we were I mean, I think we could even do with bringing Olcay back as a
We have Tere and and Orkan.
Yeah.
The reserve.
Or like
yeah, but I mean
Orkan. We should have brought Orkan back. Someone like it's better to have someone.
Yeah, but
available in this
Orkan.
kind of
I mean, I know. Evran's a proponent of playing him as a right back, but I don't think he.
Left back.
I don't physically. I really don't think he can. He can do that. I just don't think he can do that. I don't know. I think we need some youth there. I mean, like a guy like Emre Kilinç, for example. I'm not saying he can play right back or left back, but I mean, I think he's a younger version of Olcay that could work. I think there's a couple of players out there right now in the league that not necessarily are starting material, necessarily could surprise us. Of course, I mean, let's be honest. We never thought Dorkan was going to be a starter. When we first got him, so you can always get like a hidden gem like that. But there's a couple of players that are definitely worth looking at. I think one that I really like is Alexic from Malatyaspor. I know he's more offensive midfielder creator type, but he plays out on the left a lot too, and he's a great player. Another Serb, poor man.
Hey, we're gonna have to
match maybe.
Once we get into off-season mode, we're gonna have to start playing this role of. Thinking of guys we think need to be inserted into the squad and all that. But is there anything else, guys, we have to say about this match?
I think it was the poorest performance in the last couple of weeks. Overall, I think it was definitely not.
Agreed.
I mean, I think we've had some highs lately, like good performances. Like Riza was amazing. I mean, even though Riza were good too, but I mean, 7 goals, that's fabulous. And then beating Başakşehir was great. I think this was this was us coming down a little bit from our high, but we still got a win, so that's important.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Evran, any closing statements from you?
I think this was like Constels. It was coming back down to earth. This was kind of like I think before the international break when we beat Göztepe 1-0. It was kind of another one of those performances where we squeaked out a win. Yeah, but we were definitely. Nothing to be.
But those are the wins we weren't squeaking out in the first half of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, so I mean, what you could say is like if we were in the midst of a title run, which actually asterisk is not entirely out of the realm of possibility, but these are the kinds of wins you would need. These scrappy, your 70 of your guys are hungover, whatever it is, but you still pull it out. These are exactly. If only we could feel kind of convinced that we were in the middle of a title run so that we could really start taking those silver linings maybe. But yeah, it was a poor performance. Maybe even an undeserved 3 points. I don't know. Once you see those statistics and you see how many shots we had, we really deserved it.
I think we deserved it, but it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
It wasn't overly deserved, but I think if one team deserved to win today, it was us.
Yeah.
There's one more thing, by the way. Like we had the penalty situation. Obviously, I think we all are all in agreement that was a penalty. But then was like a one for Sivas too, where I really thought that Vida had a little bit too much.
I thought that was what you call what is that? The late justice for the missed call against Burak, kind of. I feel like maybe they were like, that was probably a penalty, but if we call this one,
that was
really
even softer
bad.
than the Burak one.
Yeah, I thought
it was even softer.
I don't think.
I thought both were penalties. Though.
Did you think the Burak one would have been soft though? I mean, he puts his chest into his shoulder blade and he like.
I think it's soft because it's Burak.
It's his reputation. That's what the ref thought for sure. I mean,
that's probably what the ref did.
This has happened a few times already where Burak should have had a penalty already.
That was a pretty tough one. Today was nasty.
In his first couple of games, he had he got a yellow card at some point, I think, for yelling at the ref because he didn't get a pen. Oh no, he didn't. No. It was like his first match, and he didn't react at all. Because he was still kind of earning credit with fans at that point, and he didn't dare to lash out. But there was a real penalty. Which game was that? I think that was the first or second game that he was playing for us. It was an away game, so I think it might have even been the first one.
It's the game that Evran didn't count when he said he played in 10 matches.
maybe Akisar away or something. Did we play them away? I think we played them away. I think it might have been that one. Like he could properly like in freaking Eudotro and nothing. I think it was Mete Kalkavan officiating that match too. POS.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think that's right. That's all we have to say for this. Of course, as always, stay tuned for the upcoming matches. Now they have, added significance since maybe we're back in this whole thing. Upcoming Beşiktaş will be at home against Ankaragücü at a noon game on Sunday, April 28th. 12 p.m. here in New York City or on the Eastern Coast, Eastern Standard Time. So Evran, that applies to you too. Kaan, I believe that means that's a 6 p.m. game for you?
No clue.
I think it's 6 p.m. for you and then 7 p.m. in Istanbul. Of course, check your local listings.
If it's 7 in Istanbul and it's 6 here, yeah.
So check your local listings. Never take my word on this stuff. We can't even, as a world, decide on daylight savings time. So I don't know what you expect of me here, people. So stay tuned. Of course, it's going to be a huge match. We will, as always, be back in some pairing, whether it's me and Evran, or Kaan and Evran, or me and Kaan, or all three of us. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe we'll get a Scottish twin. We just figured out that Evran has a proper headset. Yeah, which is actually significantly better than the old one. So he won't have to go out and loan his housemates' headset anymore. He had it all along. But so Kaan, man, take us out. You're back to fulfill your role here. Yeah, exactly. I don't think Sinan's been getting his Go Beşiktaş out in the last couple of episodes, has he? I did. I never don't. That's our staple. But did everyone set it up for you? No, that seems that he's incompetent. What can you say? Now, everyone. I have higher expectations for you, my friends. I expect you in the next 10 years to be on ESPN, so you better step up. Exactly. On ESPN talking about Beşiktaş? Well, yeah, why not, man? Why not? Let's hope so. Yeah? Evran, you and I should be, we should be the color commentator and the announcer for BN USA. I've been saying that. Hey, man. Be careful, maybe he listens to this podcast. No. Today's guy was not a Beşiktaş fan. I could say that definitively. He was really. Why do you think? Everything. He was super excited when Sivas scored. He was like quick to call Burak offsides, like all that kind of stuff that you would have to be kind of a jerk. I'm sorry. Anyway, take us out, Kaan. So thank you all for listening. Check out the show notes. You can follow Sinan, you can follow Evran, you can follow myself on Twitter, you can follow Beşiktaş International on Twitter, you can follow the podcast on Twitter. All of those handles are in the show notes. Just check them out. Please check out Football Alaturka, like I already spoke about earlier, a podcast that focuses on the entirety of the Turkish Super League with myself, Özer Dincer, and Burak Sezgin. Airs every Tuesday normally. So tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have an episode out. So check that out, and that'll do it for me for today. Everyone, thank you very much for joining us. I'm very happy to be on a show with you for the first time. It's an honor, my friend. Likewise. And otherwise, Sinan takes out. Go Beşiktaş! And don't forget, we're back. Yes, we're back, baby. 6 points.
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.